Okay, here we are, yet again. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the show 3 C's of Me, where we discuss conviction, cognition, and coffee. And not always in that specific order. Don't mind me and my puns. So what are we going to talk about today? Today I had the burning desire to talk about masculinity. And I'm going to warn you, this falls into the territory of conviction heavily. So be warned. I wanted to ask the question, what do you think is healthy masculinity? Is that even a thing anymore? Can we be masculine and not endure the wrath of the entire culture, particularly the more liberal culture? The word masculine in the dictionary means having qualities appropriate to or usually associated with a man. That's the dictionary definition. Google adds this little piece when you search it, this definition on Google, especially strength and aggression. And that is pretty telling. This leads me to this hypothesis, this idea, this belief I kind of have. The men have been demonized and displaced in our society, and I'll spend the rest of this video or a couple of videos sort of discussing my position, but that's kind of where I stand. I feel like masculinity has been demonized and displaced in society. Parking on aggression for the moment. I don't like aggression is not always bad. Most people don't associate aggression with positive things, though. It's usually associated with negativity. You don't really say that, like, wow, that person's really aggressive. You go, be aggressive. Like, you know, like in some certain circumstances, sure. Most of the time, though, most people are not using aggressive in a positive way. And in that same vein, I think masculinity has fallen into that as well. Masculinity is not seen as something like positive these days. It's usually seen more as a negative. And it can be negative, but it can also be positive. I think it can be both this healthy and unhealthy. It's not like it is one or the other. So even though right now it seems like in our culture masculinity is just sort of seen as a bad thing, right? So I would say masculinity or being a man includes these 7 things, and this is kind of where I'm gonna land, and I think it includes strength, confidence, intelligence, assertiveness, compassion, empathy, and humility. I think when men can be these things, they can be their best. And hasn't always been the case that men are good at these things, all of them. So biologically, men and women are different. And now you may ascribe to a worldview that doesn't value science as a higher priority, and you might reject the statement. That's fine. But I'm going to be exercising my right to free speech here. And if there are disagreements and you think I'm completely wrong, then we can have a discussion about that. I'm not trying to be offensive or extreme by any means at all. So I think a significant number of people would understand that men and women are different. Does different mean better or worse? No, of course not. And we can talk about different without jumping to extremes or indicating I think one is better than the other or one is worse than the other. So I've already suggested in previous videos that I think many of our issues in our society come from this fairly obvious breakdown of family and community. I would go a step further and I would suggest that this breakdown is a symptom of this displacement and this demonization of men and masculinity in our society. If you're a far-leaning feminist, I would ask that you hear me out and not immediately tune me out. I think feminism has its place. Women do deserve equal rights and equal treatment. That being said, I think we may have gone a little too far to the point that only feminine attributes are accepted, or that all attributes are feminine somehow. even those previously considered to be masculine. If you are an aggressive female, that's okay. In fact, it's like, go, be aggressive, go get you want, succeed. Don't tell anybody, don't let anyone tell you what to do or what to be, but that's females only. That's women only. If you're an aggressive male, you're probably going to get put in jail. You're scum. You're not okay to be aggressive, men. This is the message I'm getting as a man, and I think this is the message a lot of people are getting. So there's been this huge movement that says, from women, saying anything that you can do, I can do. But instead of equality, it's like we're really pushing the envelope to the other side and getting into female superiority. Like, not only can we do what you do, we can do it better. Like, and there's this need to prove they can be better than us and everything. And I get it. Like, okay, but by your very nature, women, you can do things that men cannot, notably childbirth and lactating. Like men can lactate, but that's irrelevant. In general, women can give birth and lactate, and men cannot. Biological differences. Men can never do all the things that women can do. But it's not okay to say that there are things that men can do that women cannot. That's like taboo. You cannot say that. So we're not really looking for equality, it seems. It seems like we're just looking for superiority. Like, yeah, women can do things that men can't, but there's nothing a man can do that a woman can't do as well or better. And that's not equality. It's not equality. And if I say men should be strong, the response is, well, women can be strong too, and they can be stronger than men. And sure, this is the issue. Like, yes, men and women should be strong, and they can be strong, and some women can be stronger than men. But I think it should be in separate but equal ways. It seems like feminism has kind of come in guns blazing, like, out of the way, men. We're here. We can do everything you can, and we don't need you, so step aside. Move over. It's time for the women to take charge. And I think this is proving dangerous. If you tell anyone that they don't belong, that they aren't needed, that they are terrible people because of something they can't control, like skin color, or sexuality, or gender, it's going to have a devastating effect. And that doesn't just go for people that look like me. That goes for people in general at any age, in any stage of development, of any ethnicity, of any sexuality, of any gender. You tell people that you are not good enough because of something you cannot control. That is devastating to people. I brought up gangs and suicide in a earlier video. You should go check it out. It's called Where Do Gangs Come From? Parts 1 and 2. But does it bother you that men dominate those two areas? I feel like we haven't allowed men to have a meaningful place in society. We've demonized them, so they've branched off to other aspects of society. Extreme feminism has demonized masculinity if men portray it, but celebrated it if women portray it. It's really unfair, and it's really a dangerous double standard, in my opinion. And women have demanded the same rights as men without taking on the same responsibilities as men. For example, the right to vote. The right to vote historically came with the obligation of registering for the draft. But guess what? Now, women have circumnavigated that, and they can vote without the responsibility of having to go to war in the event of a draft. That's not equality. Sorry, just saying what it is. That's rights are supposed to have responsibility to go with them. And that doesn't really seem like it applies to women. Not trying to be hateful or anything like that. I don't hate women. If you take any piece, don't hate women. That's not what this is getting at. I'm getting that balance and equality for what they really are. And if that's not what we're really going for, then we need to say it. What you're looking for is not equality. What you're looking for is superiority. And if that's true, then it needs to become a different discussion. Going back to like the draft, women in military. The military used to be sort of the man's place. And women have had a difficult time getting into and staying in and being successful in the military as a whole. Not to say that there aren't people, that's not what I'm like, let's not go to extremes here. Like, there are women in the military, there are awesome women in the military. I know a couple of them, and I've seen a lot of them succeed. But we're talking about like a bell curve here. There are outliers, and then there's the average. The average woman would not be able to meet the same standards as the average men, military standards. Specifically, in my experience, in the Marine Corps, it's very obvious that the Marines have a very high physical standard that most women cannot meet or sustain. So many women will get into the Marine Corps, but after a couple of years, they're not able to keep up those same standards for various reasons, like biological reasons, that they can't help. And it's not that men are better than women or whatever, but I do think there are physically some things that men can keep doing and do better that women cannot, in the same way that there are things that women can do that men cannot. And I think that these differences are important, and they need to be understood and then called out and identified for what they are. So, if we have these high standards yield great results. If we lower the standards, then we lower the effectiveness of the unit or the team or the branch or whatever. So the lowering of standards reduces the effectiveness overall. And if you lower standards, then the whatever it is becomes flooded with men and women who cannot perform the job to a satisfactory level. And in the military, in the Marine Corps, in combat infantry, if that means people can get killed. And if we're there to fight a fight and make sure that everybody gets home, then we need the best of the best there. And if women are not able to physically meet that demand, then we're not doing anyone any favors by lowering the standard to get women in there for the sake of equality. Am I saying that women shouldn't be in the military? These extremes, like, no. Just because I say that women might physically struggle with the standards the military has set in place, that does not mean women should not be in the military. Don't take what I say and turn it into something that I'm not saying. Women should be in the military by all means, but true equality means that the same standards apply to men and women. If that's not what you want, then that's not equality. Now, that said, higher standards mean better teams and more successful missions. That's why Rangers, Navy SEALs, Recon Marines, they are the best of the best because they have ridiculously high standards and they don't let anyone in that can't make the cut. And if they do, then that's a problem. That degrades their capabilities. Similar thing happens in college and education. People have flooded colleges thinking that they just get a degree, they immediately become more valuable. That's like printing currency, though. You just print more money, it devalues what everyone already has. So, like, education, a high school degree, an associate's, and a bachelor, they're just like everyone has them or is expected to have them. They don't really mean much. They don't really speak to your capabilities. If you are the best of the best, you've got to be a master or a doctor, basically. And then you think about it. Doctors and lawyers, like, there's shortages of doctors. Why don't people want to go be doctors? Because it takes lots of time and lots of money, and it's dedicating your life to a thing. It's not just a bachelor's degree. Everybody gets a bachelor's degree. What does that mean? Like, so you can go through 4 years of college and rack up debt you're going to probably pay for the rest of your life. For being a doctor or a lawyer, there are strict high standards that you have to perform to get in. And it's not easy, but it still means something these days. Will it continue to? Who knows? But those are things that we should keep in mind. And maybe I'm getting a little off track. Let's go back to what I meant before. Let's go back to the original topic, and that not the privatization of healthcare and the saturating of college degrees. So I do honestly hope I'm not offending anyone here. Like all 6 of my subscribers. Hey, you guys are awesome. Don't forget to like and comment and share. Anyway, let's talk about what a man should be. I think I've already gone pretty long, so I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to make a second part to this video. The next one is going to be much more about what masculinity should look like and what men should be. So tune into that one. Until I get the next video up, be cool, be smart, be reasonable people, drink coffee. Yeah.